Rain poured like needles against the windows of the city bus. The night was unusually cold for early autumn, and the streets of Jakarta glistened under the dull amber glow of the streetlights. It was almost midnight when Armin stepped onto the last bus of the night. The driver barely looked at him, nodding slightly as Armin dropped his coins into the metal box. The bus was nearly empty, just a few scattered passengers sitting close to the front. Armin instinctively walked to the very back, his wet shoes squeaking against the floor. He always preferred the back row, less attention, more solitude. As he sat down on the last seat by the window, a strange chill seeped through his jacket. He shivered but brushed it off as the cold air from the open door. As the bus began to move, he noticed something odd. Every time they passed a streetlight, the lights flickered, not the ones on the street, but inside the bus. He glanced up at the fluorescent bulbs overhead, wondering if it was a power issue. The driver didn't seem to notice. 15 minutes into the ride, the bus made another stop. A woman in a long white dress stepped on. Her hair was long, jet black, and draped over her face. She didn't pay the fare, and the driver didn't say a word. She walked slowly, deliberately, towards the back. She sat down in the empty seat right beside Armin. Armin tensed. There were so many open seats, and yet she chose the one next to him. He didn't dare look directly at her, but in the corner of his eye, he saw that she was motionless, hands folded neatly on her lap. The air around him grew colder. Then she whispered, so faintly he wasn't sure he heard it. "Don't get off before me." Armin turned to her, startled. But her head was still bowed, hair obscuring her face. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe he was just tired. He put on his headphones and leaned against the window. But sleep didn't come. The bus moved, streetlights flickered, and passengers slowly got off. Yet the woman remained. When they passed his stop, Armin panicked. He pressed the bell, but the bus didn't slow down. He pressed it again. Nothing. The woman finally turned her head slightly toward him. Too late now. His blood froze. Her voice was hollow, like it echoed from a deep well. And just like that, the lights inside the bus went out. The bus was pitch black. Armin's heartbeat thudded in his ears as he reached for his phone. No signal. No light. Just the deep hum of the engine and the sound of tires rolling over slick asphalt. Then came the whisper again. "You should not have sat there." A cold breath brushed against his ear. Armin shot up from his seat, stumbling forward. The silhouette of the woman remained seated, unmoving, now almost blending into the darkness. "Hey!" he shouted. "Driver! Stop the bus!" No response. He made his way toward the front, bumping into seat edges, his fingers outstretched in the black void. As he passed the midpoint of the bus, he heard it, breathing. Ragged, uneven breaths from multiple directions. But he saw no one. He wasn't alone, not truly. Whatever remained in the dark was watching. A shape flashed past his peripheral vision, too fast, too thin, and gone before he could react. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on. Every seat was filled, but not with people. The passengers looked like mannequins, stiff, gray, and lifeless. Their heads turned simultaneously toward Armin. Empty sockets for eyes, frozen smiles, cracks along their cheeks like broken porcelain. Armin stumbled back, his foot catching the edge of a seat. He crashed to the floor. The bus screeched to a halt. He looked out the window. There was no street. Only fog. A thick, unnatural mist that surrounded them. There were no buildings, no lights, no life. The city had vanished. Then the woman stood up. "We've arrived," she said. "Where?" Armin asked, his voice shaking. She slowly turned to him. Her hair fell away from her face. There was nothing underneath, just shadow. "You chose the last seat," she said. "That's where it always begins." She took a step forward, and the door creaked open. Outside was a staircase descending into the fog. Armin was frozen. The air around him was thick and sour, like decay. The mannequins sat still, heads turning back to face forward. The woman waited by the door. "If you stay on the bus, they'll take you," she said. "Who?" She didn't answer. Armin took a hesitant step forward. He felt the eyes of the lifeless passengers on him. As he reached the door, he looked back. The bus was rotting from the inside. The seats were no longer seats, they were bones, bound together by sinew. He jumped off. The steps beneath him groaned with every move. The staircase twisted and turned, descending into endless mist. The sound of the bus behind him faded, replaced by whispers that danced around his ears. He didn't know how long he walked. Time didn't seem to exist here. Finally, the mist parted, and he stood at the entrance of an underground terminal. It looked like an old subway station, abandoned, wet, and flickering with a single dim light. A sign above read, "Terminal Terrakia." And beneath it, "For those who never return." The terminal was silent. Too silent. Armin stepped inside, his footsteps echoing unnaturally. Benches lined the walls, each one occupied by figures hunched over. None moved. None breathed. At the far end was a ticket booth, its glass smeared with handprints. Behind it sat an old man with hollow eyes. "One way or return?" he asked. "Return," Armin said, desperate. The man laughed. A dry, rasping laugh that seemed to come from deep underground. "No one returns from here, boy." He handed Armin a ticket, black paper with glowing red ink. "Seat 45, back of the bus." Armin turned, and the terminal had changed. The benches were gone. The people were gone. Only a bus stood at the platform, engine rumbling, door wide open. He stepped on and saw her. The woman in white, already waiting. As Armin stepped back into the bus, the interior changed again. It was clean, modern. The fluorescent lights glowed steadily. He looked back. Jakarta's skyline shimmered in the distance. Was it over? Then he saw the reflection in the window. The bus was full of passengers staring at him. But when he turned around, the seats were empty. He rushed to the front. "Driver, please, just let me off." The driver slowly turned his head. It was the old man from the booth. "You already left," he said. "Now you drive." The bus screeched and jolted. Armin stumbled back. He looked at his hands. They were gray, cold, turning into porcelain. A whisper came from behind him. "Next stop, someone else's last ride." And Armin smiled, just like the others. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow other horror stories.